Hello, FloodGate family. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Leadership Live. And this one's going to be an exciting one because we've got Trey Dorman, who's the VP of Sales at Interventional Urology at Teleflex. If you haven't been watching, they've been doing a lot in the market and really making a tremendous impact with big acquisitions, et cetera. But we're here to talk leadership with Trey, and I've been lucky enough to get to know you, but most of the people watching don't. So tell us a little bit about you, how you became here, and of course, about all the great things happening at Teleflex right now.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much, Joe. Great to be here with you. Appreciate the opportunity. Been great getting to know you as well, and looking forward to the discussion. So Trey Dorman, born and raised in Fort Worth, in Texas. So born and raised there. Really had aspirations coming out of high school. I wanted to play football and baseball in college, and so there was one school in particular, Lindenwood University in St. Louis, Missouri. You may be saying, "Where's Lindenwood at?" Well, I wanted to play both sports, football and baseball, and I was not Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders. And so Lindenwood was kind enough to give me a chance. Came there, learned a lot through the sports program there. Really loved the head coach. Finished up my undergrad and started working in finance. Tried to get into medical device sales right out of the gates. And, my recruiter said, "Hey, you don't have enough experience yet. You need to go get some hardware." So I went and got some hardware and came back and got back into medical device about 15 years ago. And it's just been an unbelievable experience and really grateful to be here. And today my career is actually at Teleflex Interventional Urology, serving our team across the U.S.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Trey. Well, you mentioned the uniqueness of this particular space, and you've had a really quick rise into leadership and a great role. Tell me a little bit about what do you think the key attributes to be a good leader in this med device space?
That's a great question. I think about this a lot. Hopefully I embody these and kind of display these to my team. But number one, I think you have to have incredible vision, right? You have to inspire an entire team and an organization with the vision of what you're doing every day, whether it's strong patient care, whether it's changing the paradigm of the treatment algorithm, whatever it is. You have to be able to cast a vision across an entire organization, have people hold on to that and inspire them to go do great things. Number two, I think you have to have a really, really high EQ. Right, you're dealing with a lot of really talented people, a lot of very intelligent and bright surgeons. It takes a high EQ, in my opinion, to be a very strong leader, and that's another critical one. Number three, I would say, is just really mental toughness. Right, you're faced with a lot of different scenarios across the course of a day, a week, a month, and when you're leading from the front and trying to do right by your team all the time, you're going to be faced with tough decisions and tough scenarios, and it's going to take that mental toughness to get through that. Discipline would be number four out of the five. You have to have a disciplined approach. If you're going to get consistent results as an organization, you have to be a disciplined leader. And I think it's important for leaders to model that. And then the last one, and arguably the most important, and it's been a big part of my career, is you have to be able to be highly creative and be able to think strategically, to be able to look around the corner and not just skate where the puck is going, but anticipate where that puck's going to go and take the organization there with you so that you can stay ahead of the competition.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that vision of what that impact is, is crucial. And a little bit of that EQ ties into that because you got to care. You're making impact on people's lives, right? Many times saving their lives in this space. And there's not many spaces you can say that. So having that combination of doing it, realizing change is not easy, right? Getting people to change, especially in high risk environments like med device, positions to change. There's a lot of ups and downs. So you've got to keep that team going and consistency. And I love the fact that you talk about just that discipline of themselves because, leading by example, having, I'm going to do what I'm asking you to do, I think is a key attribute in leadership. So I like the way you've just really articulated those elements together. Now, I'm sure, Trey, you've always 100% done those every time. I'm just kidding. I'm sure there's some lessons. I know I had some early on that you've learned the hard way. What would you share so others don't have to learn the hard way?
Yeah, it's a great question, Joe, and one that I thought a lot about. And the first one I would say is, to be a strong leader, especially of a larger organization, I think you have to master the art of delegation. I think a lot of people as a leader think that they have to take everything on, right, and put everything on their shoulders. And the reason typically you are where you are as a leader in a role to serve the organization is because you have an unbelievably talented team around you. And if you are effectively delegating to those people and allowing them to do what they love and serve the organization in that same way, you're missing out on an opportunity to make your organization even better. So I would tell you lessons I've learned the hard way. I have taken on too much at times, and I have to take back and say, wait, I can't do all this, number one. And number two, I have unbelievably talented people here within the organization cross-functionally that I can empower to lead through these. And you know what? They're probably going to do a better job than I would anyway. So everybody wins.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it provides that agency, and that energy and accomplishment. Great people love great challenges. But you know what I would say? I struggle with the same problem, by the way. I still struggle with it. I'm a doer, so I jump on too much. Is the hard part is easier to do than empowerment. But when they do it differently than you would have done it, that's the key when you have to stop, bite the lip, hold back, let it go. Because two things are going to happen. They're going to figure out a better way, which is awesome. Or two, it's not going to work and they're going to learn. Either way, they're good results. We just got to learn as leaders to bite our lip sometime, and let it happen,
Absolutely. Joe, there's a quote that I learned very young that I heard from my dad one time that said, do what you do best and delegate the rest. And I think when you think about that art of delegation, I'm going to lead the organization, be key part of the strategy, the implementation, everything else. I'm going to do what I do best. And what's going to make the team best is to delegate those other things and let them do what they do best.
Yeah, no, that's great. Guys, we're going to be talking a little bit, asking some questions, but I'm sure you're going to have questions, those listening. So please comment below. Last 10 minutes, we're going to pull some of those questions up and allow you to ask some questions directly to Trey and get some insights on the things that are burning questions. So please make comments below. We'll pull those in at the end of the event here. So, we talked about empowering people, right? Having the giving, the delegating. But how else do you really develop high performance? What have you found really works?
Yeah, one thing I would tell you is that I've been fortunate at Teleflex and other organizations to sell really, really amazing products. And I would tell you when it comes to high performers, it all starts with recruiting top talent, right? If you don't have top talent and somebody who's hungry and driven, it's going to be challenging. But the biggest thing that I would tell you in developing a high performer is effectively coaching them and teaching them how to change behavior, right? Changing behavior is the key of all the top performers that I've ever seen. They fundamentally understand when they walk into whether they're meeting with a surgeon, whether they're meeting with the office administrator, the C-suite at the hospital, they understand how to diagnose exactly what needs to occur, exactly how they can best serve that customer, and how they can go about changing behavior. And when you have that, when you master that, you really become a master of your craft. And you combine that or couple that with a really, really amazing product that gets great clinical outcomes. And you have a really dangerous combination there, somebody who can do a lot of good and get a lot of great patient outcomes and win at a high level.
Yeah, no, it's giving them that tool and showing them how to really adjust that behaviors and give them a lot of that's training, right? We just did some training for my team here, but in getting repetitions and doing that for sure. Absolutely. Now you talked about those high performers in promoting and how they grow in promotions. And there's, really, we talked about two different types of promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and, how someone can achieve them? I want to understand that concept.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, when I think of promotions, somebody in the organization approaches me, or maybe they raise their hand, or maybe I see them and just say, wow, you are a dynamic talent. You are built for more, and they say, okay, what does it take? What does it look like? Well, in my opinion, there's two different types of promotion. Number one, there's the promotion of responsibility, right? Which is, for me, that's a big deal for me. When somebody looks at me and says, Trey, I'm going to promote you and give you more responsibility, more influence, more opportunity to impact the organization, that just means the world to me, right? And so I ask those people, are you looking for a promotion of responsibility? And the second one is, or is this really a monetary piece, right? Where you're trying to advance your career, you have a certain dollar figure you're trying to go for. And what I tell them is, usually if you're getting more responsibility, the monetary piece will come, right? That's going to come. And so let's put the organization and the first one first, and the monetary piece will come after that.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It was a quote I read recently, and I'm going to botch it, but it basically says if you're focused on giving value,
yes,
you will find that value will be returned, right?
Absolutely, it'll be reciprocated, 100%.
and it's not always a 1 + 1 = 2. It's sometimes a 1, 1, 1, then 5, right? So you got to sometimes have to wait a bit. But understanding that, I think that's a really good point, and where to focus on that promotion piece. I think it's a really good way to say that. Now, you talked earlier, the foundation of building a performer starts with the talent you're able to bring onto the team. So this one's near and dear to my heart and what we do and what we love to do every day. But how have you found, first to find and then evaluate that new talent that becomes high performers?
Yeah, it's a great question, Joe. Look, you guys have been doing, this at a high level for a while, but and life is such a team sport, right? And I said earlier, I'm going to do what I do best and delegate the rest. And so I will tell you that this is, from finding and evaluating new talent. On the finding piece, I really rely on our internal resources and our external recruiters, just like yourself. You are an expert at your craft. You spend your time building relationships in very highly specialized markets. That's time that I haven't spent. And so when we have an open role or to launch a new role, I want to compress the timeline to getting top talent into that market. So I'm going to partner with somebody like yourself, with our internal recruiters at Teleflex, who do a great job as well. But what's really important is evaluating that new talent. Whenever we bring somebody in the organization, we're looking for a few different things, right? So number one, they have to check all the boxes from an integrity perspective. High integrity, high character. Number two is they have to have the capacity and ability to learn quickly. They have to accelerate through that learning pathway. Number three is they want to have to grow with the organization. I want somebody who wants to come in and grow with the organization. Let's not just think about the role that you're in now, but the role that you could be in 3 to 5 years from now, and do some true career planning and kind of career mapping. Yeah. And once we kind of align on those things, when we evaluate new talent, we take them through a process. We give them a personality assessment to understand how they make decisions. They interview with leadership at different levels of the organization. And most importantly, when I'm evaluating new talent, Joe, we all talk about our accolades and what we've won and what we've done. And we should, right? We should be very proud of those. But I will tell you, the one thing I want to know when I'm evaluating talent is, who are you when things get hard? Yeah. Right. Anybody can stand there and shine when the sun's on them and they win that rep of the year and everybody's cheering for you. But who are you when things go south? I want to know your grit, your determination, and how you're going to respond in that moment.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. A couple of my favorite questions is, tell me about a difficult customer. Shut up. Tell me about a time you failed to achieve a goal.
Exactly.
What do they say? And understand their victories, right? But understand, a lot of times that humility that takes to pick yourself back up, make an adjustment, and go forward, right?
Yeah, I don't want to give it away here, but I will. My favorite question to end any interview is a Roger Bannister question. I don't know if you know.
Okay. Yeah, Roger, of course. Yeah.
It's the first human to run a sub 4-minute mile, and I asked him, everybody's always asking me, what do I need in this organization? Trey, what are you looking for? And I tell them the Roger Bannister story, first human to run a sub 4-minute mile. And I say, I'm looking for someone to come over here and show what's possible, to establish a new standard, a new bar within the organization where people go, wow, I've been here for 2 and 3 years. I didn't even know that was possible. I need to level up. And when you consistently bring in top talent that is leveling up like that and creating a new standard, that standard organically begins to elevate. And the next thing you know, the organization's in a much better place than it was because of that talent coming in. So I'm looking for Roger Bannister type people to define a new standard.
Yeah, no, it's a great example. Broke that 4-minute mile. No one thought could happen. And then after that, I think 5 people did it within the next year, it's pretty incredible. So guys, we will be taking questions. So comment below and we'll pull some of those questions in once we've kind of dealt with some of those questions here for the last 10 minutes. So if you have questions you'd like to ask Trey, please just comment below and we'll pull that up here in a moment. Now, there's a lot of people that are leaders listening to this, but there's a lot of aspiring leaders, that you talked about that career vision. Where do they want to be? That are thinking they want to be where you are. So what do you think someone needs to do to be tapped for that first leadership position?
It's a great question. And, a common one, I would say, I have the privilege of mentoring, some people in the organization and outside the organization. I will tell you, the first thing is, if someone is doing something that you want to do, you need to get some of their time and invest in them and find out the how. That's going to compress your timeline to getting where you want to go. Mm-hmm. But I think it's really 3 steps. Number one is, whatever your current role is, You need to do that excellently. You need to do that at the top of the craft and show that you can do that job at the highest level. Number two is you need to do the job you want before you have it, right? So let's say you simply you're in a sales role or a consultant role, and now you want to be a field sales trainer. A lot of people wait and they think they have to have the title before they actually do the role. For me, if you're already stepping up and leading within your team without a title, titles don't mean anything. Our field sales trainers are already leading from the front 6 months in advance. They're doing it because they love the team, because they want to see the team improve. And then the last one I would say is be promoted by your peers. And what that means is really when a role comes open, you've already been doing the job. You've already communicated this to leadership that this is what you want to do. You've been working on developmental aspects of that. When that role comes open, they go, wow, that's got to be Joe's role, right? I mean, he's earned this. Look what he's done. Look at the things he's done, how he's worked. Look how he's, tried to solve problems for the organization. And when you do those three things, I'm telling you, that's been a hallmark of my career, is focusing on those three things. The promotion will absolutely occur, and you'll get the promotion, more responsibility, and the opportunity to shine in that next role.
Yeah, no, you touched a little bit on that 2 types of promotion, right? If you're focused on bringing value, right? Value in your current role, value to your peers, with them others focused. When that moment comes, that value will be returned, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. And speaking about being others focused, is one mantra I know you use quite a bit, and I've seen it on all your emails. I didn't know if you're a big Three Musketeers fan or what but I was curious in the all for one mantra. What does that mean for you, and how do you carry it forward in the organization?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I had the privilege to join this organization as one of the first, 15 urology consultants in the country. And then we were acquired by Teleflex sometime after that. I've held the regional manager role, the central area director role, and now the role that I get a chance to lead and serve our organization. But when I was a regional manager, I would sign off every email all for one. It meant all for one, one for all. We were in this thing together. Titles do not mean anything. And really what it means, Joe, is that I'm going to lead from the front. And I am not going to ask you to ever do anything as a member of our sales team that I'm not willing to or haven't done myself. And usually you'll see me do it first. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a silly little example. We had a training that's required, just a training. I'm not even required to do it, but I did it. Snipped off my completion, sent it to my team, and just said, hey, team, I know you're busy, right? I know you're busy, but please find time to do this. It's important to the organization. And just leading from the front that way. And really, I get that example, from my parents, from my mom, from my dad. Had the privilege of being raised with two amazing parents. But I go back to that Lindenwood University example. And everybody says, Trey, why in the world did you go to Lindenwood? And I got to tell you, the first night I came to visit there, I was about to meet with head coach Dan Kratzer, who's a former tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I said, hey, where's Coach Kratzer? Where's Coach Kratzer? And the team was running wind sprints. And I look out there and they're like, he'll be over in a minute. He'll be over in a minute. He comes over. They're going to see him over there. He was the one leading the wind sprints with the team. He was running in the front. No one went on the line until he went. And I got to be honest with you. I think back to that moment. I think, man, if I ever got the chance to lead a team, if someone ever rewarded me with that responsibility, that's the type of leader I would be right there. I would be the one leading the wind sprints. Now, obviously, I don't coach a football team, but from a medical device organization, that's what I try to embody every single day and lead from the front. And that's what all for one means.
I love it. Yeah, it is. We all have our hands on the oar, right? Rowing that boat in the direction together and willing to pick up whatever piece is necessary to get us to our goal. That's a great attitude to have on that. I have one more question, but guys, I see there's several comments below, but please put a question or comment below and we'll take them here in a moment. And, you embody a little bit of that all for one in this next question is the favorite superhero, right? So who's your favorite superhero, Trey, and why?
It's interesting. You asked me this. I've never been like a big Marvel kind of fan or whatever, but if I had to pick one, I would, man, I'm going to go off pace a little bit. You're not going to notice, but I'd have to say my mom, my dad. They're not superheroes in comic books or on the movie screen, but they're amazing people who showed me what mental toughness and resilience was going through some times. And I was the first person in my family to ever go to college, finish undergrad, and kind of blazed a new trail for the family. They were both unbelievably supportive for that, and now have the privilege because of their kind of vision and leadership. The rest of my brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody's been through college, and we've kind of elevated from an education standpoint. So I know to a lot of people that's not a big deal, but I would tell you that without their support, that wouldn't have been possible. So they're my superheroes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, if you think about the base of a superhero, they protect you, right?
Exactly.
Right? They inspire, right? And they support people and they're others focused, right? They're not usually look at me. The superheroes are not. That's
Absolutely.
the villains.
Absolutely.
And really parents and really embody that. And I totally agree. They're some of the greatest superheroes of all time. So,
Got it, my friend.
well, guys, I'm going to take some questions now from the FloodGate family here. So we're going to pull up some questions. Let's see. First, okay. Danny, what are some of the most limiting factors for individual contributors that you see on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's limiting factors.
What's holding people back? What are their foibles that might hold them back that you could identify, that you help them identify so they can get to where they want to get, maybe?
Yeah, I would say that number one, they aren't leveraging resources and programs internally the way that they could. They're putting it all on themselves, and changing behavior is so incredibly difficult, right? It takes a team. It takes lots of different resources across different organizations that they provide. But if you're out there every day putting it all on your shoulders, trying to just change behavior by yourself, I will tell you the individuals that I see succeed year over year over year are the best at leveraging internal resource to drive continued education and make sure that they're partnering with their cross-functional team. So I would just say they're trying to do it by themselves, and they feel like they're on an island, but they don't know is they have an army of people internally that are trying to help them and want to help them, but they won't open up the door to their customers.
That's great advice. Great suggestion. We'll have another question here coming up here. Can you share some great points on leadership? What role have mentors, leaders played for you in your career?
Yeah, this one hits home. I am the product of people who have been kind enough to invest in me. That I've asked for their wisdom, their mentorship. I've asked them challenging questions. I've asked them to give me really challenging feedback in order to make me better. And because I was willing to lean into those difficult conversations, I was able to identify areas that, as a leader, were not serving me well, and I needed to work on. And it's helped to really round me out and shape me. But I cannot tell you, if you don't have a mentor or a leader, get one. Whether it's inside the industry, outside the industry, I mentor some different people, as I mentioned earlier, and it is really critical to have that thinking partner, both personally and professionally, whether it's a challenging scenario you're dealing with, or whether you're trying to figure out the next step in your career. And I will tell you, I've had the luxury of having some amazing ones. 2 or 3 come to mind. I think they know who they are, and I'm incredibly grateful for them and pouring and investing into me. But cannot tell you the value of mentors for me and everybody else.
I could think of a couple of comments you made during this conversation previously. Is one of your suggestions on being recognized is find people that are where you want to be.
Absolutely.
And connect with them and learn, right? And then second is the impact that I think of that coach doing wind sprints, that indelible image you have of leading from the front, and actually sprinting with the team to success has stuck with you, right? So I can see both of those. The next question we've got, let's see who else we got here, is from Sarah. What do you, an aspiring candidate, be looking for in an organization they're evaluating to join?
Yeah, I like this question a lot. Thank you for asking. I would tell you, so many candidates I hear saying, I want to work for this company. And that's great, because there's a lot of wonderful companies out there that are big names, including Teleflex. I would tell you, when you're evaluating joining an organization, you need to look at who is the hiring manager or who's the hiring director, and what level of investment are they going to give you. I can tell you, my first job in medical device, I had the fortune of being hired by a company that had an amazing manager who taught me everything about medical device, everything from how to plan, how to have strong clinical conversations, how to change behavior. Everything absolutely poured into me. And then the next organization I went to a leader And the investment I got was, hey, what's your forecast? Right? I need you to be here this month versus here. And that was the investment. So I would really challenge, what is that person willing to pour into you to shape and mold you so that you can achieve what you want to achieve in your career? Don't just look for the company name. Look for that leader who's passionate about what they do and truly, truly developing people. Your career will be better off for it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, you bring up a good point, something we always talk to our hiring managers about, right? Mm-hmm. Is the interview is going two ways, right? They're determining a good candidate. Ones that have listened to your advice is also interviewing that leader to say, is this someone that I want to have? Are they going to pour into me? Am I going to be better having worked for this individual? Right. So, absolutely. In that interview process, they need to sometimes we have a tendency to forget there's two parts of that as well. So I don't know if we have any other questions here. We got one from Jonathan. Thanks for a great observation. The pointer is very inspiring. Can you talk more specifically about how to change behavior? Yeah, you mentioned that, that creating behavioral change. So it might be another dissertation, but, something you could put back in there.
Yeah, so something just very concise. Look, whether you're changing, surgeon behavior, representative behavior, or, personal behavior, it's a little bit different, but we'll just talk about kind of changing customer behavior. Number one is, I think you have to come in and listen, and you have to understand why they do what they currently do. If you don't understand the why behind exactly what they're doing every day, and you just come in and start kind of featuring and benefit and deploying resources, you're going to miss a moment to align with that surgeon and say, okay, I understand why you're doing that. Number two is you have to diagnose what it is they love about what they're currently doing. Right now, you've listened, you've diagnosed what do they really truly love about what they're doing. And then one of my favorite questions to change behavior is, I ask a surgeon, I say, if that organization tapped you on the shoulder and they say, hey, we would like you to be our lead engineer to re-envision that technology that you're currently using, what would you change about it? If you could change anything, the delivery, the mechanism of action, what would you change? And all of a sudden, that product was really, really coveted. There become some issues. Well, I changed this and the angle here, and I don't like how this deploys here. And you get all these different things. And so now you understand why they do what they do. Now you understand exactly what they would change about that technology. Now you are an informed consultant and have the ability to have a really detailed and powerful conversation with that surgeon on why your technology is better. But the last thing I'll say is, when you're changing behavior, and I probably should have started with this, but you need to sell the problem you're solving, not the product. Too many people are product representatives. That's consultants come in and they solve problems. Representatives come in and they sell products. And so when you come in and you identify the problem that they're solving, the problem that you're solving for that customer with your technology, it's a different conversation. You position yourself differently as a consultant.
I really like that tagline. You just, I don't know if you've used it before or if it just rolled off, but representatives sell products and consultants solve problems. Exactly. That's well positioned, and actually, we seek to be a consultant, have a seat at the table. Sure. And and to have that, really, that to be, I've talked to my team about being a neutral, right? And the fact that you really seek to understand if you can help, and if you can't solve their problem right now with the solution we have, tell them that, right? And it's going to save you time and give you credibility and give us a challenge to how do we get better, and solving those, can we figure out how to solve that problem in the future?
Exactly.
So exactly. I think that's such a great example. I don't know if we have any more questions there that we can pull up. Looks like Matthew Callie. What process do you follow to get an organizational buy-in from reps, leaders, et cetera, to your vision for the sales organizations? You got a very large one. A lot of people have opinions. So what do you do?
Yeah, look, it's, the larger organization, certainly the more challenging that it is. But number one, I think it's just helping them understand, what problem are we solving for the customer, right? How are we uniquely positioned? And I think you have to lead from the front in those conversations, and you have to absolutely model the way, right? We have a giant vision of what we want to do or let's say you have a giant vision of what you want to do as an organization. You cast that vision to the organization. And then as you go into the field and you have those conversations with customers, you highlight that, right? No matter where that customer is in the US, they have the same problem as the customer that this person's talking with. And so I think that the biggest piece there is modeling the way which is something I got to be honest with you. I love to be in the field. I love to come in and meet with the customers and work with the team. That's part of that all for one mantra. And if you can be in front of the team consistently, deploying that vision with passion, with enthusiasm, and see those customers reciprocate that, it's going to become infectious for the team as well, and they're gonna buy into the vision.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a couple good points there. Is you have that passion, that vision, but you're also involved. You don't. You're not making decisions from your knowledge of 5 years ago when you carried the bag.
Exactly.
You're still out there because the market's changed, right? You're relevant, you're credible, and that matters, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and the bigger an organization, the harder it is because there's a whole lot of time selling up. There's a whole lot of meetings to go around, but making those times is crucial. Hard to do, but crucial. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, guys, I think we might take one more question here if we have it. And then we'll so would you rather hire a professional communicator or a salesperson? Is there a difference?
Yeah, interesting question. I haven't thought about that before.
I'm not sure I know the difference really, as I think through it too.
Yeah, look, I think so I think about two things here. If all things were equal here, professional communicator and a salesperson, because I think either or could be positioned as the same. It makes me think of Southwest CEO Herb Kelleher, and he said, "We hire for attitude, we can train for everything else."
Yeah.
I got to tell you, when you sit down with somebody and all things are equal, right? They understand how to change behavior. They're a strong communicator. They're articulate. They're passionate. Attitude is the difference maker there. If you have somebody who has an amazing can do it, let me pour into the team, I want to elevate all the people around me attitude versus, look, I'm an individual contributor, I'm a salesperson, I do my thing, don't bother me. I think we know which one I would ask to join the team because that attitude is infectious and it's incredibly important. So great question, unique. There's probably more detail there to unpack, but I would say I would hire the one with the most powerful attitude that's going to elevate the team.
I think that's a great answer. A funny Southwest airline story, and they're recruiting. So they used to have a part of the process. They bring in the pilots when they're rapidly recruiting, and most pilots are buttoned up. They're military guys, et cetera. They got their dark suits on, and when they would start the interview, go, "Hey, it's a long day. The interview, it's kind of hot. It's Texas. We got you these brown shorts, to put on to be comfortable." Right. And there were certain people like, "Sure, that sounds nice. No problem." Put on the brown shirts. And there were certain that was like, "I'm not doing that. I got a suit." Right. And it was there like, hey, if you're not willing, to put brown shorts, you could be good at Delta. You could be good at, Continental, but you're not Southwest.
Absolutely.
And so they were able to differentiate their own attitude. And it's something we've leaned into a lot too with our clients is like doing a hiring for attitudes, what's called our program, interviewing to try to tease out those attitudinal differences so it matches the organization. So
absolutely.
Well, guys, we are at a little over the half hour. It's been tremendous amount of questions. Trey, I cannot thank you enough for imparting this wisdom on us. It's been very meaningful, has some very good points. I know I've taken a couple arrows and I put them in my leadership quiver. I hope everyone here has as well, and they're better medical in this medical device community as a result. So I appreciate you doing that, Trey, and thank you for your time.
Joe, I can't thank you enough. Really enjoyed the conversation. I learned a few things here as well, and I think that's the key, right? As a leader, you've never arrived. You got to keep going, keep improving yourself to be the best for your team. And so I appreciate the conversation and all for one.
That's right. All for one. I love it. Thanks, Trey.